Knowledge and discipline are as indispensable as courage and self-sacrifice. Hence, the forging of priceless qualities of character is taking place daily and monthly as the struggle for a goal of a high moral end is pursued. What will this mean for the future? There will come from this cauldron a mature man, experienced in life lessons, socially aware, unafraid of experimentation, and most of all, imbued with the spirit of service and dedication to the great ideal. Does America need such men and women? Asking the question answers it, he says. There are many parts of the higher education experience that challenges and refines the character of students. However, humanities disciplines are the controlled laboratories for life's lessons. They offer the space to engage other people's life lessons, to refine one's own without experiencing those struggles as a necessary condition. I remember the first time I read the chapter, The Violence of Desperate Men, in King's memoir, Stride Toward Freedom, where he recounts when he almost gave up the movement after his house was bombed. I remember reading an emotion that was so uncommon to my understanding of King, which was fear. I was taught the fearless king. I never saw the humanity and fragility that caused this ideology to lean toward nonviolence. I was able to peer through his pain, and it taught me to forgive myself for being afraid of the activist I was called to be. As a husband and father, I could feel the grief he expressed because his choices put them in danger. Little did I know that moment of history would teach me something about my character. It was in humanities classrooms with professors in this room, reading students of philosophy like Martin Luther King Jr., Angela Davis, Kwame Ture, and Huey P. Newton that would inspire a college student at Morehouse College to become a philosophy professor. I share this to suggest that the development of character is intrinsically tied to what the humanities aims at, which is making students bear witness, giving students the space to explore what they witness, and allowing them to explore through what they witness. The common denominator, however, is witness. King's account of places like Birmingham, Selma, and Montgomery are meant for us to bear witness to the truth of the U.S. South, that is the reality of the world, which is that oppression is real, insidious, and violent, but our resolve can be greater. And then lastly, for society, returning to King's World House, King states the following: when scientific power outruns moral power, we end up with guided missiles and misguided men. When we foolishly minimize the internal of our lives and maximize the external, we sign the warrant for our own doomsday. Our hope for creative living in this world house that we have inherited lies in our ability to reestablish the moral ends of our lives in personal character and social justice. Without this spiritual and moral reawakening, we shall destroy ourselves in the misuse of our own instruments. First, King views the world as an increasingly interconnected phenomenon where, although there are various nations, we exist as global citizens among each other in this world house. Our job is to become the best neighbors to one another in this world house. We exist as global citizens among each other However, one of the main hindrances to that neighborliness, as he calls it, is that this loss of the internal as we reach for the external. The World House is, in both social political philosophy and ethics, considered cosmopolitanism. One of the foundational ideas of cosmopolitanism is human dignity, and as Kwame Anthony Appiah gives insight as to why dignity is a special problem for the humanities, he says the following: with regard to dignity, our word obviously comes from the Roman word, which is dignitas. And that was, by definition, something that only some people had. And what we've done is to democratize it and say it isn't just privilege for the privileged few who have this entitlement. So I want to hold on to the earlier thought that we have distinct rights to respect, end quote. King cared deeply about dignity and what he called somebodyness. He reminds the sanitation workers of Memphis, Tennessee, that all labor has dignity because all people are owed a basic concept of dignity. The first thing that is lost in a society without the humanities is a normative concept of dignity. As stated by Appia, dignity was originally something that was granted to a select few, and everyone else was unworthy of dignity. We have attempted to democratize it. However, we can see the failures of common dignity all around us. Genocide, enslavements, war, starvation, sexual violence, and so many other oppressions that are only possible and permissible in a world without a common understanding of dignity. Appia shows us that there is a kind of dignity that is Western in origin and founded upon imperialistic principles. And it is our task to take the concept and make it reflect the values we hold dear. So I'm skipping to my conclusion. In King's statement for the New York Times entitled, "What is the World's Greatest Need?" King says, unless we can reestablish the moral ends for our living in personal character and social justice, our civilization will destroy itself by the misuse of its own instruments. King is an exemplar for the relevance of the humanities past, present, and future. I give the addendum to this argument that other domains of study have integrated components of the humanities in their courses. This is often where the term critical is utilized in course titles. However, I do not take that the components of the humanities and other domains to be completely sufficient to maintain these aims if the humanities are dismantled. At a time where knowledge is being contested, epistemicide is rampant, injustice is everywhere, violence is being normalized, and fascism is increasing, we need critical thinking and self-reflection now more than ever. It is my hope that this project helps remind higher education and the world that the humanities are not just storytelling for its own sake, but storytelling that helps us evolve into better human beings. Thank you.